Abortion battles front and center. The leak of the Supreme Court draft decision on abortion has led to protests, a congressional vote, and hate crimes against churches and pro-life centers. A final court ruling is still maybe a month or more away. So are the events of the past week a harbinger of what may come later this summer? Here with more is Kenny Xu. He's the president of Color Us United and author of the new book, An Inconvenient Minority: The Attack on Asian American Excellence and the Fight for Meritocracy. Kenny, thank you for being with us. So, contrary to the belief of outraged pro-abortionists, a pro-life ruling from the court wouldn't really end abortion in America. It would send the lawmaking decision to the states and their representatives to decide. So, your thoughts, what do you think's really going on here with this reaction we're seeing?
All the decision really says is that there is no constitutional right to an abortion, which is true. There is no constitutional right to an abortion. Abortion is never mentioned in the Constitution. If anything, the Constitution mentions the protection of life as a critical issue, however you want to interpret that. But the point is, there's no reason why Roe V Wade ever should have been passed in the first place, because it had no bearing. It was not passed with a mandate of the people.
Well, how about the reaction, though, Kenny? We're seeing some hate crimes here against churches, pro-life centers, and so forth. Is that orchestrated? What's behind all this? There
was a big hate crime at a Wisconsin abortion clinic, not an abortion clinic, a Wisconsin pro-life group. There was arson and threatened arson there that just happened a couple of days ago. And now you see all of these protests over Brett Kavanaugh's house. I saw one commentator said this level of protests would have been called domestic terrorism by Merrick Garland if it was on the other side.
Yeah, I think Nancy Pelosi said really the only thing that's changed is the court, but really the technology has changed to give us a look inside the womb to see that that is a baby, that is a life with a heartbeat and so forth. So many abortion clinics are placed in low-income minority neighborhoods, Kenny. So while black women are only about 7% of the U.S. population, 40% of the abortions are performed on them and their babies. It's almost like pregnancy and rising birth rates in minority communities are bad things. So what's your concern?
Yeah, and I would like to talk about that, right? Because black babies are unfortunately aborted at 5 times the rate of white babies in this country. And that has to do a lot with how Planned Parenthood systematically targets the black community in order to get more abortions. By the way, when you get abortions, Planned Parenthood gets funding. They can get government funding. They get nonprofit funding. So they are incentivized, despite what they tell you, they are incentivized. And, with all this talk about equity right now in this country, it's just very sad that nobody seems to care about the fact that there are these massive disparities in abortion rates that disproportionately affect vulnerable black Americans.
Well, the left always argues that one of the arguments they have in supporting abortion is that laws restricting or banning abortion are discriminatory against minorities because many people of color cannot afford to travel to a pro-abortion state. Furthermore, they argue minorities are being forced to care for babies that they can ill afford. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that are no. First of all, you can't travel to another state. That doesn't make much sense. It seems like most people have access to a car these days. If not, they have access to public transportation, a bus. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of our time as a country building an equal opportunity state. Now the whole thing is about equal access. I think that's the new term among the left. It's called equal access, where they believe that everybody should have access to an abortion. But the play on words that you see there is that's implying that abortion is a good thing. Most Americans do not believe abortion is a good thing.
How about younger people, Kenny? You say you're from a younger generation. Do you think there's a trend going against abortion now from young people, more pro-life people?
I think there is, and the reason, and I'll tell you why. Because normally, right, the younger generation would be more liberal than the older generation, but the younger generation is not moving. It's not changing, which shows that inherently there is a rational argument against abortion that even younger people can understand and are prone to buying.
And finally, you're the president of Color Us United. You advocate a race-blind America. Should race have any role in this abortion debate, or is this more race baiting designed to divide America?
I think the charge of racism because of tough abortion laws is false. And one of the reasons why is because actually adoption rates in this country are skyrocketing, and particularly, by the way, for Black children. Actually, Black children are actually disproportionately likely to be adopted in this country. They actually make up almost 30% of new adoptees. And by the way, for younger infants, the rate of people who want a adopted baby compared to the actual amount of adopted babies out there is about 20 to 1. So what this shows is that this is an astoundingly colorblind country. Americans do want to adopt babies, and they don't care what color their skin it is. They just care about the need. And so I think that using this racism narrative to try to justify lower abortion restrictions is an insignificant argument.
Okay, well, we'll see how all of this comes down and plays out. Kenny Xu, author of the book An Inconvenient Minority, The Attack on Asian American Excellence and the Fight for Meritocracy. Thank you, Kenny, for your time. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.